Hopefully you can hear me out there, but my name's Heather Sky, coming at you from 21st Yoga in Salt Lake City, Utah for Yoga for Alignment. So if you have any props available, you might find a couple of blocks to be handy, but we're going to try to work through a pretty dynamic and playful practice today, starting with a little tune in, which is always the start of my practice. So when you're ready, just find a nice comfortable seat to set yourself up in. You might kind of move and shift around, allow your body to find a place to settle in preparation for our practice together. As you take this time to settle in, you might notice any places of stress or tension you're holding in your body. Allowing yourself to feel your way through that and let go of what you can. And then I'd like to start our practice today with an intention. So as you take a moment to sit with your thoughts, whatever's coming up for you today, think about what intention might best guide your practice in this moment. Or perhaps your intention is bigger than that. It can be meant to guide you throughout the remainder of your day, your week, or the future path in general. Once you come up with that intention, draw your hands together at heart center. And take a moment to hold your intention between your hands, close to your heart as you sit nice and tall. And we'll kick off our practice with one devotional Om. So if you'd like to join in, take a slow and steady inhale to prepare. Om. As that vibration rolls through you, you might feel how it affects your energy. And then releasing your hands back down, you can keep the eyes closed or open them. Start to just move through some seated cat-cows. So working through a cat pose, you might pull the ribs and belly in, letting the chin and tail tuck as the shoulders start to come forward. And as you exhale, gently pulling the knees to help extend the spine, drawing the shoulders back, untucking the chin and tail, and move through several cycles like that. You might start pretty small and subtle, and then incorporate more generous movements, feeling your way through the physical body. Maybe you start to incorporate some movement through the head and neck. If you like practicing with music and you have the capacity to put that on at home, you can put on your favorite playlist of choice as you follow along. And then let yourself start opening up from there. Maybe you side stretch. I'll just work you through some options here, but you can take your time to move however you like to. You could open up the legs, start to stretch from there. but use these first few moments to cultivate a deeper awareness of what's showing up in your body today. Feel it start to become more alive. We are going to play with some arm balances a little later in our practice today. So for that purpose, we're going to be doing a fair amount of appropriate joint mobility and flexibility. We're going to start with the wrists. So when you're ready, come onto all fours into your tabletop position. And I want you to start by just noticing where the weight falls in the hand. So generally, we tend to weight bear primarily in the heel of the hand, but the difference between the hand and the foot is we don't have a bone for stability here, so that causes the wrist to get more compressed, causing some of that pain and discomfort that we experience when we weight bear. So I want you to try to shift more pressure into the knuckle mounds and then grip with the finger pads. So the weight and pressure are even in the hands and you're pushing down so much you have some sort of feedback all the way up the arm. Keep that, and then you're going to start to work in circles around the wrists. And again, those can start small. If you're used to incorporating this type of work in your practice and you have a little more strength in the wrist, your movements can be bigger, but you're going to take several circles in each direction, about 5 or so. And then from here, we're going to turn the hands out 90 degrees. So you still want the wrist to fall about beneath the shoulder, but notice how all the weight shifted into the heel of the hand. Push out to the knuckle mounds, grip with the fingertips, active foundation, arms, shoulders, and then shift side to side. Small or large movements. We're not locking out the elbow here, but we're keeping both the elbow and shoulder strong above the wrist. And then last one, because our arm balances do generally require a fair amount of flexibility in the wrist, we're going to turn the hands out 90 degrees again. See if you can evenly shift the weight, grip with the fingertips, and this time your primary action is going to be to push. And if that's enough sensation, just stay there. If your fingers are turned all the way toward the knees and you can take a little more, as you push, start to reach your hips up and back just a little. And that'll also start feeding more up the forearm. Take a couple breaths here. And then one by one, turn the hand forward. You're going to sit back, and we're going to release with a little therapeutic stretch I like to call floppy hands. So you want your wrist, hand, fingers to be totally relaxed, and then you're just going to start to gently flop them up and down. And as the joint structure starts to get a little less tense, you can go a little faster. Yes, it looks silly, but you're not in a community class looking silly, so you can be as silly as you want at home. As you get a little more free with your movement, really try not to control it. Just let the wrist, hand, fingers all work themselves out. And then speaking of looking a little silly, we're going to start our movement practice with shaking out today. So you're gonna come to a stance, a comfortable stance, maybe kind of wide-legged. You wanna be really relaxed, and all you're gonna do is shake. Just a little shaking. I'm the only one that has to look silly because you're all looking at me. But let yourself really shake, kind of move around, let it all get loose. And then we're gonna start with our warm-up sun salutation. So since we're already standing, we'll start at the top of the mat, mountain pose. And I want you to lift the toes so you can feel where the weight shifts in the feet and try to even out through all four sides before you push the toes back down and lengthen up through the crown of the head. Then inhale, arms up. Keeping the core strong to support the length of the spine, hinge at the hips to fold. We're trying to really tilt the sit bones upward to find a nice tension line through the back of the leg. Then inhale to slide the hands up. Gentle press to get more length through the back body. Exhale, plant the hands. Step back to plank. See if you can find that same even weight and pressure in the hands, slight grip with the fingertips, and that same push. Heels back, tail slightly untucked, crown of the head forward, and then lower all the way down. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, downward dog. And in this first downward dog, take some time to kind of move and shift around, feeling your way through some of those sensations coming up in the lower body, allowing yourself to move through those in whatever way feels wise and necessary for you. And then I'll walk you through one more sun salutation, just like that. Inhale up onto the toes. Exhale, deep bend in the knees. Move your gaze toward your hands and try to keep the power there as you step, hop, or float forward. Find your feet and inhale to lengthen. Tension line at the back of the leg. Exhale to fold. And from the press of the feet, rise all the way up, long spine, strong core. Exhale, hands to heart center. Take a moment to close the eyes, reconnect, take a full breath. Then inhale, arms up, long spine, strong core. Exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale to lengthen, Ardha Uttanasana. And exhale to fold. Plant the hands, make your way back to plank. Try to find that strong structure through your foundation. Press to get the feedback through the arm, core, and hold that as you lower, Chaturanga. Inhale to lengthen, up dog, cobra, sphinx, back bend of your choice. And exhale to downward dog. Take a few breaths here as you really settle into embodying downward dog. And then on your own, when you're ready, you're going to work through one more sun salutation. Whether you want to move at a breath to movement pace or whether you want to really take your time and get a little more explorative. But work through one more and we'll meet back in downward dog. once you make it there, take a few full and steady breaths. At any time, you always have the option to come into child's pose, a seated meditation, or some other more restful pose in order to reconnect with the breath. But when you are ready, we'll start working through our first sequence here. So if you do have a couple blocks, you're going to want them handy at the top of your mat. And then from your downward dog, inhale to extend the right leg behind you. And once you've lifted that contact point, notice where the weight and sensation is in the hands. Can you shift more press into the knuckles, slight grip with the fingertips, and then actually push your hands forward to get more lift up and back. On an exhale, step the right foot forward. We're going to start again by lifting the toes so we can get an even press through the foot, and then push the toes down so we have an even activation through the right leg. Start by slowly pressing the floor away with the right foot until you work that front leg straighter, maybe all the way straight. And if you're not feeling a lot of tension in the back of the right leg, make sure that your right glute is wrapped under and that you're evenly pressing through the four sides of the foot. And then inhale to lunge and do that a couple more times on your own. Press evenly, get that glute actively wrapped, and push. We want to work toward getting the legs straighter, so we're getting more length through the calves and hamstrings, but we don't want to lock the knee out. And generally you can tell you lock the knee out because you lose all of that muscular sensation. Now that you've worked through that a few times, you're going to drop the left knee behind the hip. Drag the knee forward so you're rolling more to the top of the kneecap, and then pull the heel in toward the glute. And you're going to keep your chest nice and low so that you can reach back toward the ankle without having to kind of contort the body. Then pull the heel into glute, option to stay here. A little higher, right hand to block. A little higher, right hand to thigh. For more intensity, push your thigh forward as you pull the heel in and try to really use the core to get the spine long. Neck long, ears over shoulders. Take a couple breaths here. The more that you're able to push the left knee down without causing pain in the knee itself, the more length you'll get from the quad stretch here. And then release that. If you have your blocks, you're going to grab them here, and the right heel is going to come forward for our half monkey pose. So start by just kind of letting the right leg relax and get lazy. Notice what that feels like, what visually it looks like. And then we're going to turn the toes upward, push the heel down until the knee micro bends just slightly, and you feel that sensation shift out to the calves and hamstrings. This is your first place of sensation. A little deeper. Hug the right heel and left knee together. Get that glute to wrap under, more sensation. A little more, flex the right foot back. Hold here for a few breaths. And then see if you can really keep this active work in the right leg and start to inch the left knee back. If you have blocks, they'll kind of inch back with you, but we're maintaining the alignment and activation in the right leg, using the left leg as a way to deepen. So take your time inching back to whatever your deepest place is at this point in the practice, but not so far that the right leg becomes passive. And then you might close your eyes, take a few full deep breaths to really be present with this sensation. Now, regardless of how you choose to unwind from here, we always want to be mindful of how we're moving the knees. If you're low enough to the ground, I like to just sort of roll to the outer hip, swing that opposite leg around, and then shake out the knees to get a little release at the calves and hamstrings. Several options from here. If you need a moment to rest, child's pose. If you don't, downward dog. If you have more energy to burn, you can step up and work through a sun salutation. Either way, we'll get started on the left side in a few breaths. All right, taking that same sequence to the left. Inhale to extend the left leg behind you. Notice when you lifted that contact point, what shifted? Get your hands evenly active and grounded. Push the knuckles forward to lengthen up and back, and then step the left foot forward. Lift the toes to find your even press. Toes press down for even activation in the left leg. Left glute stays wrapped under as you push all four sides down to work into that pyramid variation. And you'll just take your time working from there to the lunge about 3 times. And notice where you get more sensation, less sensation, whether that feels like wise sensation. Get curious about it. And then when you come into that lunge last time, right knee will drop behind the hip to give us a little more movement to drag the knee forward, ideally landing toward that little fat pouch we all have above the kneecap, and then heel pulls straight into glute, keeping the chest low to reach back. If you can grab the foot or ankle, option to come up higher from there. Maybe hand to block, maybe hand to thigh. Maybe you push the thigh down and forward as you pull the heel and the core in to get longer. The more you press that knee down, because the quads wrap over the knee, the more length you'll get there. Take a couple more breaths. Then we're going to work into that half split stretch, other side. Release the right foot. Grab your blocks if you have them. Left heel steps out. First, I like to just notice the difference in sensation so that my mind and body are on the same page. So let the left leg get relaxed and heavy. Notice what that feels like. Then turn the toes up and push the heel down until you get that micro tip in the knee and more sensation in the muscles. That's step 1. Hug left heel, right knee together. Pelvis gets more square and active. That's step 2. Step 3, active flex of that foot without straightening the knee. Take a few breaths here. The more you're able to tilt the sit bones up, the more length you'll get from those left hamstrings. And then keeping all of this work in the left leg, you might start to inch the right knee back. And if you notice you start to lose some of that work, you can push down, hug in, do all your same actions as you work toward a deeper stretch. Once you reach your end point, whatever that looks like, you might try closing the eyes and softening into the sensation without bypassing it or losing it. Take a few breaths here. Then when you're ready, mindful of the knees, you'll sort of work your way out of this position. Slide that right knee forward and shake it up. Option to move and stretch however you need to from here. Option to take a rest in child's pose or a seated meditation. Or if you still have energy you'd like to burn, work through another vinyasa or sun salutation. We'll take a few breaths before our next sequence on the right side. From your downward dog, inhale to re-extend the right leg behind you. Find even pressure through the entirety of the palm. Knuckle mounds down, grip with the finger pads, and then push forward as you reach up and back. Right heel plugs into right glute, and keeping your body in this neutral container, start to work the right leg into several circles each direction. Then, as you come forward, we're going to step the right foot outside of the right hand. So we're in more of a lizard lunge. And I want you to find that even press through all 4 sides of the right foot, pushing the toes down so right leg is nice and active. From here, we're going to drop the left knee to a hover and hug it forward as the right hip hugs back. And then straighten that left leg, push the heel back. Do that a couple more times. Drop the left knee to hover, hug it forward, right hip pulls back, and then straighten, press the heel back. Do that one more time. And then in this strong, deep position with right foot pushing down and forward, left foot pushing down and back, see if maybe you can lower one forearm. It could be all the way to the floor or to a block for a little more elevation. Maybe the other forearm. Maybe you kind of bring the fist together. If you notice that you're someone who sinks down here, then you can push down to get more broad. And then maybe you kind of rock gently forward and back. Just small movements. And then whether you're on the forearms or not, can you start to walk the right hand under the leg? Maybe just the fingertips kind of peek through. Maybe you can start to get your upper arm or even your shoulder through. And keep pushing the feet down and in opposing directions to use the legs to maintain a strong structure. Really nice. Unwind that right hand, come back up to the palms, and you're going to shift a little of your weight to the left hand, so right hand comes to thigh. We still want the leg structure to be strong and neutral, but you're going to push the right thigh down until your heart opens to the right, shoulders draw back, and you can reach up. Take a couple breaths here. I know your legs might be getting a little tired here, but you're going to bring the right hand back to the right thigh and push both hands down so much the ribs and belly pull up. Back is round and broad. And then keep pushing as you shift some weight forward and bring the left knee toward the left elbow or tricep, and then step back. If you can, try that a couple more times. Push down, strong core, shift forward, knee to left arm. Step back. If you've got one more in you, do it. Nice. And then this time you'll release that right hand down, step the right foot back, plank. Work through your vinyasa. We'll meet back in downward dog. Take a few breaths. Maybe you need to pedal out through the legs, roll out the ankles, maybe even drop to the knees, work the wrists a little. Grab a sip of water. And then we'll take that to the left side. Inhale to extend the left leg. Exhale, left heel to glute. Strong hands pressing forward as you reach up and back, and then start to work those circles. And notice how your body wants to kind of shift and rotate around that. Can you stay strong and stable? Once you've completed your circles, step the left foot outside of the left hand, lift left toes, find your strong and even press, and then push down so much left leg is stacked and active. From there, working the right leg, drop the knee to hover, hug it forward as left hip pulls back, pelvis gets strong. Then slow straighten of the right leg, heel down and back for more length. Do that a couple more times. Then keeping this strong structure in the legs, we're going to play with coming down lower. So maybe left forearm comes down to ground or block first. You don't have to lower. Maybe you try that right arm. If you notice you're sinking down and can't find your press here, maybe you use fist to press. And then maybe you play with that slight rocking motion. From here, we're going to play with working the left arm under the left leg. If your legs are quite tired, you can always drop that right knee back down and still do the same process of kind of working the arm under here, and maybe you even re-lift the leg from there. But take a few breaths. Unwind the left arm, and we're going to come back up to palms. Right hand is going to be a little broad, left hand to top of thigh. Structure of the legs stays the same. Press down, kind of lining up over that right shoulder, and then pushing down to open up. Take one more breath here. And then release left hand back to thigh, pushing both hands down to get the core active back round. Shift your weight forward and push. Knee to right arm. Step back and play with that a couple more times on your own. Really nice job. When you've completed those, release the right hand down, step back, and work through your vinyasa. This time coming into a resting pose of your choice, unless you, again, have enough energy to work through an additional sun salutation. Take your time. More full, deep breaths. We're going to be working through some of our challenge poses from here. Again, playing with a little arm balancing, which for me, I think is a time to be really curious and playful. So I hope you will allow yourself to do the same. So we're going to start by just playing with crow pose. Many of you likely know what that looks like. If you do have wrist issues and you have blocks at home, these are a really great tool for that because you can wrap your fingers around the blocks, which is going to keep the hand, wrist, arm, and shoulder more active, and it's going to require less of that wrist flexion. So, starting by playing with your crow pose, with blocks or without, I'll show both. So if you have blocks and you're going for that finger curl, I like to start kind of in an uttanasana with my knees bent, or you can come into kind of a taller malasana-like position. But you're gonna come up onto your tippy toes and kind of pull your elbows back toward your knees and hug your knees into your upper arm. So I'm kind of plugged in where I wanna be here now, but I don't have that core activation we've been working with. So I need to keep this curled position, but push until my ribs and belly pull up and my shoulders get broader, chin and tail tuck a little more, and then add the weight shift. Little shift forward. Maybe you play with lifting one foot. Maybe you play with lifting both. Hugging those elbows in as you push the shoulders out. Whenever you need a rest, come down, roll out the wrists a little. looks like without the blocks, but obviously we are all very different bodies, very different proportions, and I'm not there with you, but I'll show you what this looks like for me. So, hands flat. I do have to come a little more into that squatting position. You want the hands at least shoulder distance apart. I like to turn my hands out just slightly so that my index finger is pointing more forward. And then elbows pull back, knees hug in, shoulders broaden out. Push to get that core lift. Shift your weight forward and keep that activation as you maybe start to float the legs. So crow pose is a little different than crane pose, which is that pose where our knees would be more on the back of the arm and we would be pushing to get a full extension, and the hips would elevate much higher than the shoulders. Whereas in crow pose, we're kind of staying low, hugging in, and shoulders and hips are quite parallel to the floor. So, keep playing with that at your leisure. And I'm going to show you one of our one-legged crow options for you to play with that one as well. So, I kind of like to come into this the way that we were playing with lizard pose. So you might start in a modified lizard with one foot outside of the hand, one knee down, and then start to work the hand outside of the leg. And then I want you to play with just lifting the back knee and rocking back and forth, but on strong hands. Think about that foundation we've been talking about, okay? So this is sort of gonna be our launching point, but I wanna do one more flexibility here to help us get there. So, bringing the leg out into the half split, you're now gonna angle that leg out, push the heel down, tip the knee up, pull the sit bones up and back, and then you can either stay here or you can start to walk it forward for a little more depth in your sensation. Take a few breaths here. And then walk it back in. So I'll show you why I feel like this is a valuable stretch when coming into this one-legged crow variation. So come back to your modified lizard. Work the right arm under, whether it's just elbow and hand are planted or whether you get a little deeper, and then pick the back knee up. This time, you're gonna do your weight shift hop forward, and that back foot is gonna plant right behind the front foot, and now you're gonna act like you're setting up for crow again. So bend the elbows, hug them in until that back knee can find a place to rest on the arm. Then pull the back heel up toward the glute and start to sit your weight down. Maybe this is as far as you go. Eventually, those front toes start to crawl out, and maybe the leg starts to straighten, which is why that sort of side split becomes very helpful. Hug the elbows in, little extra push. Whew, that one's a doozy. Give yourself a second to kind of work it out. And then we'll work through it one more time, other side. So setting up on the reverse of wherever you just were. Step that front foot outside of the hands, back knee dropped. For your modified lizard, start to work the arm under. Maybe it's a little, maybe it's a lot. Pick the back knee up, and as you push down, strong legs, just start to shift back and forth a little. Nice. Drop the back knee again. Hand comes inside. Then we're going to work toward that angled half split. So heel forward, slide it out, push down to tip the knee up, and then draw the sit bone up and back. Either staying here or walking it out for a little more intensity. Keep pushing the grounded knee down and pull that hip in as you reach the sit bones up and back. Then pull the hands in, last time. So maybe you started on your better side and you'll notice that this side is a little trickier. That's okay. Like I said, try to stay in that playful mindset with it. So work the arm under the leg, find your strong hands, pick up the back knee, and this time with your weight shift, you're gonna step forward and be in a little squat. Elbows bend, hug in and back, so the knee has a shelf to land on, and then the heel lifts up. Push, core strong, shoulders strong, and then set your weight back, and maybe that front foot starts to work forward. Unwinding as gracefully as you can. And then take a minute to kind of work through that. All right, let's take it down for a bridge pose. So if you know how you like to set that up, go for it. I like to first ground all four sides of the back body. So I have a little lift in the low back, a little lift in the sternum, and I can really push the back of my arm down and the back of my head down. Then, from the press of your feet, lift your hips. And as you continue to press arms, shoulders, head down, push your feet forward to get a little more upward lift and movement toward the chin. If you notice your legs want to splay out, gentle hug there. Take a few breaths. And then from the top of the spine down, as you keep the press of the head, roll your way down. Once the low back, sacrum, tail hit, hug the knees in, nice tight squeeze. You can just hold here. If the knees are drawn in close, your mid-back is likely touching and you can rock that side to side. Or you can draw nice big open circles with the knee to roll more around the perimeter of the back. You can do a combination of these. And if you would like to take that a little further and try a wheel pose, you can do that here or an additional bridge pose. If you'd prefer to do neither, just hang out or do one of your favorite stretches. one here. We're going to start by just crossing the right leg over the left leg. You can grab onto your knees, shins, maybe slide all the way out to the ankles, but you're going to pull the legs in toward the chest and then out toward the side walls. And try to keep your sacrum pretty even, shoulders pretty soft. Unwind and switch sides. Take a few full breaths here. And then unwind, come into Supta Baddha Konasana. So knees open wide, soles of the feet together. We're going to take just a few resting breaths here. And I want you to start by noticing, in what should be a quite restful position, what muscles in your body are really gripping in order to hold you in this position. Probably around the pelvic girdle primarily, maybe the core as well. So try to soften where you can, even bringing the hands to the top of the inner thighs to help the nervous system feel more calm and supported. You're going to keep the left leg in this position, keep the left hand on the thigh, and lift the right leg into a half happy baby, grabbing your inner heel and pulling your heel down until the knee comes toward the outside of the rib cage. Notice how your left leg probably started gripping again. See if you can get it to get a little softer. Maybe not as soft, but softer. Once you're able to do that, start to actively kick the right foot into the right hand as you continue to pull down. So your leg may actually start to get straight, but it's on tension. This is a very active movement. And then you'll slowly bend the knee, bring that heel back in, and release. Supta Baddha Konasana. Both hands to thighs, get a little softer. Then trying to keep the right leg soft and relaxed. Half happy baby on the left side. Hand inside of the heel. Pull down. And keep pulling as you now kick into the resistance of the hand. Maybe you're still in your happy baby position, just resisting, or maybe you're getting straighter, kind of like we did in that pyramid variation at the start of our practice. Then pull the heel back toward the glute, release the foot down, hands to top of thighs. One last thing here, bring the hands to the outside of the thighs to gently pull the legs back together. And then open the arms out to a T, hug the knees in toward the chest, and you're just gonna gently rock side to side in a twisting motion. So you can either maintain movement or you can kind of hold and breathe at the end point of those twists. Your choice. Once you feel like you've sufficiently worked through that final piece, take a full body stretch to get that last little bit of release in the physical body. And then start to set yourself up for Shavasana, final resting pose. And if you don't feel restful and at ease in your traditional corpse-like position, as always, please know that you have the option to set up in some other way. We are trying to seek an easeful position that will allow us to find a few moments of rest and recovery. So once you find that place in your body, from the outermost layer, start to work inward, surrendering your effort and taking these final moments to just be. Take a moment to just be in your body, feeling your way through every layer a little more deeply. Eventually starting to deepen and direct the breath. And then running the tip of the thumb over the fingertips, bringing back a gentle connection. Allowing your movements to organically evolve from there. Maybe stretching the fingers and toes, rolling the ankles and wrists, moving into another full body stretch. Taking the time you need to move in your own way until eventually those movements bring you back to a comfortable seated position where we'll meet once again with eyes closed, hands at heart center. Once you arrive, taking this final moment of stillness to reconnect with the intention you've set for this practice. Then keeping your eyes closed, inhale arms up overhead, taking one final cleansing breath, And exhale, hands back to heart, sealing this practice. I see you, I bow to you, and I wish you well in all things. Namaste.